Okay, welcome to another video. In this particular video, we are going to see what is a Docker and how to install it and basic setup of the Docker. Okay, so without wasting time, let's get started. So it might be possible that some of you already know what is a Docker, but you need to see how to install a Docker. Then there is a timestamp below. You can just type on that and you can skip to the section where the Docker is being installed. Rest of you, let's continue with me. Okay, so what is a Docker? Okay, so imagine this, that you have operating system like Windows and let's say Ubuntu on your system. Okay, so let's say this is the sky blue one is your own system, like local system, like Windows or Ubuntu. I have Ubuntu, so I will just write Ubuntu UB. Okay, so on this system, suppose I want to host a website. Suppose I want to host something tool. I want to host some code, or I want to do something which needs to be isolated because you don't trust that particular thing, whatever you want to do, right? So in that case, we use Docker. So what is a Docker? Docker is a basically container which will be placed on your OS. Okay, so if you want to take a reference, imagine the VMware. I think you should have the knowledge what is a VMware, what is a virtual box, because everyone is playing the games, Android games on the Windows PC, right? So almost everyone is using virtual box and VMware, right? So you know what is virtual box and VMware. So the Docker is exactly the same but way much lighter than virtual box and VMware. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see how the Docker looks like. Okay, so imagine this is your OS and these are the Dockers. Okay, so these are the Docker containers, you can say. So you can have multiple container, you can have single container also. So let's say there are two containers. In one container I am doing something, let's say hosting the website. Okay, and in another container I am let's say creating a database. Okay, so let's say there are two containers. Okay, so right now these two containers are totally isolated from this base OS. Suppose in the future this container got hacked by some reasons. Okay, I'm not sure if the website you are using from some GitHub or something is malicious, or someone attacked your suppose this is online, then someone attacked your website and hacked the website. So in that case, only this part of the system will be compromised. Okay, it will not come to the OS, or it will not go to the another container. That's the benefit of using the Docker container. We can totally isolate it. Okay, so right now you understand what is a Docker container. Container is a basically one isolated area in which we can do everything. Okay, so right now you might have the doubt that okay, in the base OS we are using Ubuntu. In the Docker OS, let's say in the Docker container, what we are going to use? Okay, so yeah, there are OS available for Docker container also. We can use Ubuntu for Docker container here. We can use, let's say, CentOS for Docker container. We can use Amazon Linux for Docker container. We can use Windows also for Docker container. But Windows Docker container will only run on the Windows OS. That means I just need to install Windows here also, so that the Windows Docker container I can run. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see what is the related services to Docker container. Okay, so in order to create Docker container, we must have one thing before creating a Docker container, which is Docker image. Okay, so let's say do image. Okay, so the Docker image is responsible for creating a Docker container. Okay, so basically there is a one Docker image. Then there is a Docker network. Okay, so what is a Docker network? So basically, suppose I have created these two container, but I don't want to keep them on same network. Suppose right now the website can communicate with the database easily using database IP address, because Docker has its own IP address, right? So the Docker of the database can communicate with the website, and website can communicate with the Docker also, database also, right? Suppose you don't want to do that. So in that case, what you can do is you can create a separate network for each container, or you can just create a separate network for something. Suppose I have created two networks. One is for, let's say, the website part, and one is for the database part. Then there will be no connection between these two, and these two will be not able to communicate. Suppose you want to get communicated, then what you can do is you can create a separate network for both of these, and in this way, hence they are on the same network, they will be able to communicate using IP address. And suppose there is one more container, for this container they will be not able to communicate because they are on the separate network. So the separate network is only for these two containers. So we can do that. We can create separate network for one container, we can create for multiple container, we can create for any containers. Okay, next thing is Docker volume. So right now what we are creating is the container only. Okay, so if I delete this container, then all data will be lost. Okay, whatever, suppose I am creating this website container and a lot of people are visiting the website, so obviously the logs will be generated on the container. Okay, so if I delete this container, or some maybe because of some reason this container goes down or crash or something happens, then all of the logs will also be lost. We cannot recover anything. So in that case, we need to store, we need to make a persistent store so that everything will be stored. So that's why to container we attach one bucket. You can imagine a bucket like something like this. Okay, so imagine this is the bucket. So this bucket is responsible for storing all data which is from the Docker container. Suppose I can store the logs here, I can store whatever images, static files, whatever, I can store everything here. So even if the container is getting deleted by some reason, then also this will be in the right place. This will be not get deleted, and we can always recover our data. So this is called as a Docker volume. Okay, what is it? Docker volume. Okay, so I think that's all about the Docker. There is nothing special about the Docker, just a container, there is an image, there is a volume, the bucket you can imagine, there is a network, and that's pretty much all we have in the Docker. Okay, so initially it looks a little bit confusing, but it's quite simple. Okay, so in this particular video we saw what is a Docker and the basic things in the Docker. Let's go ahead and let's try to install the Docker on our system. Okay, so hence I am using right now Ubuntu. I can install in my local also, but it might be possible that you are watching this video and you don't have any Linux OS, you are using Windows, Mac or something like that, right? In order to keep the things, let's say, in the favor of everyone, I will just do one thing. I will just create the Docker containers on the server. Okay, so let's go ahead and open the browser, and as you can see, I have DigitalOcean account open here. The DigitalOcean is a cloud provider. So if you are learning about the Docker, if you are learning about any system administration thing, then you should definitely have one cloud account in order to implement your skills and in order to test your skills. If you don't have, please go ahead and create one. I am leaving the link in the description, which will get you $200 credit so that you can learn what is a cloud and how to use it. And if you have already an account, you can just continue watching the video. So let's go ahead and let's click on the create server button, create droplet. So DigitalOcean calls their servers as a droplet. Okay, so droplet server is the same thing. Okay, let's go ahead and choose the region. Hence I'm India. I'm going to choose the Bangalore, and then I'm going to choose the OS as a 22.04 because the LTS version of the OS is the best one because they are stable. Then in the plan I'm going to choose the regular $6 plan, and then I'm going to enter the password for server. If you have experience with the SSH key, you can go ahead and add the SSH key also, but for beginners I'm going to keep this tutorial simple and I'm going to just add the password. Once you add the password, let's scroll, and as you can see there is a one droplet. We can create a multiple also by clicking on plus button, but let's create a one for now, and let's say Docker testing or Docker test, right? And once it is done, this is the server name, by the way. Once it is done, you can just click on the create droplet and the droplet will be created for you. So right now DigitalOcean is quite fast. It will take less than 1 minute in order to prepare your server. So right now, as you can see on the screen, the server is created and IP address is there. Let's copy this particular IP address and you open the terminal. If you are on the Windows, you need to open the CMD. If you are on Mac or Linux, just open the terminal. I will make a little bit bigger my terminal so that it will be easy for you to see things. So let's do SSH, then root at IP address. we will be logging into the server. Hence it is my first time it is asking me for confirmation. Let's type yes and then type the password of the server. Okay, so once you type the password of the server, it will give you access. So first thing first, let's clear and write these things in your mind, that whenever you create a new server, there are two things that you need to do compulsory on new server. First thing, apt update to update the all repositories on the server, and then apt upgrade -y in order to upgrade the packages on the server to the latest version. Okay, so let's hit enter and let's wait for some time. By then these packages will be get upgraded and updated. So right now, as you can see, the upgradation process has been done, and it might be possible that in the upgrade process you will get lot of pop-ups. So if you don't understand what those pop-ups are saying, just hit the enter and choose the default option, right? And let's go ahead and let's clear the screen now. So clear the screen now, and next thing we need to do is we need to install the Docker. For this you can do apt install docker.io and that will install Docker for you. Okay, so once you hit install, it will ask for confirmation and you need to type y, or you can just hit enter and it will take default value as y and it will start installing. It should take around 1 minute or 1 minute, less than 1 minute, less a few seconds in order to install. So right now, as you can see, it's installed. For each pop-up I just saw, I hit enter. Okay, once it is done, let's clear the screen and type docker only. Okay, you just need to write the docker and hit enter, and if you are getting output like this is a basic help manual of the Docker, then that means Docker is successfully installed on your system. Okay, so this is how you can check if the Docker is installed or not. So right now, as you can see, the Docker is installed. Let's clear the screen, and what we need to do is we will fire one Docker image, or we will run one sample Docker image, so that, or sample Docker container also you can say that, so that we will understand that Docker is working fine. Okay, so for this you need to paste this command docker run hello world. Okay, so it might be possible that you are not a root user. If you are creating servers on AWS, you will be not user, you will be Ubuntu user. So in that case, you need to add sudo in the beginning of the command, something like this. Okay, then the Docker commands will work. But for me, the user is root already, so I will not add any sudo in the beginning. And if I hit enter, it will directly start the launching the image. So right now it is saying that the image is not available locally, so that's why the image was pulled from the remote place, which is Docker Hub. The Docker Hub is the place where all Docker images can be hosted. It's like GitHub for the Docker images. Okay, Docker related things. Okay, so once it is done, it is downloading the image and it is running the image, and as you can see, the image is successfully run and it is showing hello from Docker. This message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. So we are ready to go. Okay, so for basic, just the basic Docker command, what you can do is docker ps and docker ps-a, and that will show you your container that was running. Okay, so docker ps shows the container that is currently running. Docker ps-a shows the all container in the past also, that are running, that are not running, whatever, it will show all container. So as you can see, we are able to see this hello world container that we ran just few minutes back. Okay, so yeah, that's all about the basic things about the Docker. What is Docker, how to install it, and how to run it. That's all for this video. In next video, I will tell you the basics and the commands of the Docker. I will try to explain everything to you. And yeah, that's all for this particular video, and thanks for watching and see you in the next.